Professor Bijoykumar Singh. He is a professor of economics at Manipur University. He has been teaching econometrics and microeconomics. His areas of interest are development issues of Northeastern region, including border trade, public finance, and econometrics. He is an active member of Northeastern Economic Association, Indian Econometric Society, Indian Economic Association, and Manipur Economic Association. He has edited 3 books and written extensively on various aspects of development in the northeastern India. Professor Bijoykumar was educated at Ramkishan Mission School in Narendrapur, West Bengal, then in Hindu College, Delhi, and then Delhi School of Economics. So welcome, Professor Bijoykumar, and I thank you very much for accepting our request to chair this session. Next speaker is Damodar Nepram. Professor Damodar Nepram is in the Department of Economics in Manipur University. He is also currently working as the director, Center for Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusion Policy, Manipur University. Before joining Manipur University, he was teaching in Churachandrapur College. He specializes in public finance, development economics, and he is currently doing research in taxation and VAT. Next is Professor Sumarbin Umdor. Sumarbin Umdor Professor, welcome. He is Associate Professor Nehu, Professor from 2015 till date. His area of interest are microfinance, participatory development, rural development in Northeast India, decentralized planning, local self-government in Northeast India, livelihood in upland areas of Northeastern India, evaluation studies. He has held several positions such as Chairman Nehu, COVID-19 Committee for Students, Deans of Students Welfare, Teacher in charge of Sports Department, and many others. The list is endless. So welcome, Professor Sumarbin.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Speaker is Professor Biswambhara Mishra. Professor Mishra has been a faculty member at NEHU since 1987, and he has over 30 experience. Along with his expertise in teaching public economics and finance, other subject his primary focus lies in government finances, fiscal policies. His research pursuit extends to projects addressing critical issues faced by border area, tax efforts, and optimal utilization of public resources, all aimed at understanding their impact on development landscape of northeastern region. His advisory roles extend beyond academia. He actively contributed as a member of 12th five-year plan, perspective for the development of science and technology, Government of India. He also served as a consecutive member of Meghalaya Commission on Resource Mobilization. He is a PhD and MA in Economics from Utkal University. Welcome, Professor Mishra. Now, before I hand over to Professor Bijoykumar Singh to chair the session, let me say a few words about today's topic, which is very interesting. Government has recently appointed the chairman of the 16th Finance Commission. Finance Commission play a vital role in shaping the economic landscape of the Northeast India. The panel will dissect the intricate relationship between budget allocation, finance commission, and the region's development trajectory. The discussion will involve key themes such as fiscal policy, resource allocation, and the impact on sustainable development. It will provide insight and foresight from experts suggesting policy influencing the growth paradigm in Northeast India. With these few words, let me request Professor Bijoykumar Singh to chair this session. Over to you, Professor Bijoykumar.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
This is actually written work for economists in the Northeast. Because in the next few will be, and they will be doing extensive work on dealing with the terms of reference. Now, every time, actually we economists have some questions for expressing our on the various do's and don'ts, or rather our expectations about the the awards to the Finance Commission. And this also it is just the beginning, and it will take about 2 more years to finalize it, and in between there will be lots of opportunities to experiment, to come up with different models, ideas, and many of the things that are routinely used in the finance commissions for devolution of fund or others, actually they also can be repeated. They also can be devised, because the various measures of development, the various measures of poverty, they are all so we will hear listen to the experts from the 3 experts from Northeast who have been associated in various capacities in the respective states. Now we will actually about 15 minutes each for each of the speakers, and after that we may go for a second round, and then we may have some questions and answer sessions. This is actually a 1.5 hour session, and so we have 15 minutes each to begin with. So I will with Professor Damodar Nepram. So Professor Nepram actually will give his views on the expectations of the 16th Finance Commission. So Professor Nepram, take a presentation.
Oh, thank you, sir. Actually, the state government also submits a memorandum to the Finance Commission, and in the memorandum, it listed out all the things that it wants. So I think the Finance Commission also commissions many studies on state finances, and normally it is done by the universities also. So perhaps it may come to our university also and to the other universities of the country. Therefore, I think if you look into the terms of reference, I think the term of reference is the same as usual, that the Finance Commission should decide how much the center should get, how much the states should get, and how to distribute the tax revenues among the states. Then secondly, it has to look into how much grants and for which purposes the Finance Commission is to make a decision. On that, it should make a decision. And it can also recommend certain suggestions to improve the financial condition of the states. This has been the three things Finance Commission normally does. Now, I think Finance Commission, as you know, is appointed for every 5 years so that changes can be incorporated, so that it can be adjusted to the needs of the time. Now, I feel I'd like to suggest some changes in the coming Finance Commission report, and that will help the Northeastern states much better. Now, normally, if you look into the Finance Commission report, it can be divided into two parts. Number one is tax sharing, and number two is on grants. Now, if you look into the formula that was adopted by the last Finance Commission, it gave income distance 45%, area 15%, population 15%, demographic performance 12.5%, forest cover 10%, tax effort 2.5%. Now, I want to point out some lacunas in this formula. Now, if you look here, population is given 15%, and at the same time, area is given 12.5%. Now, normally, a big state, large state normally has big population also. So I think these two are giving undue weightage to population. A big state normally has a big population. Therefore, a big state will get more money in this criteria, population 2011. At the same time on area also. This is, I think this can be corrected. And in place of area, I think in a kind of measure of infrastructural development, say like, for example, infrastructural index development. This index was used perhaps in the 11th Finance Commission, I think. After that, it has not been used. So I think we can bring back this index of infrastructural development in devolution of taxes. I think the Northeastern states, most of them are hilly, and infrastructure is a big issue. So I think this is a very important point. In place of area, I think infrastructural index can be used. This is one point. Number two, tax effort. I think this time, last time it gave 2.5%. This time I want to say that the Northeastern states are doing very fairly, very good in tax effort. Normally, Northeastern states used to have low tax ratios. For example, some states like Karnataka, they have 8% tax ratio, whereas Northeastern states have 2% tax ratio. But if you calculate the tax ratios now, I think most of the Northeastern states have 4%, 5% likewise. And it basically comes out from in the introduction of goods and service tax. Now, when goods and service tax is introduced, it helps the northeastern states in two ways. Number one, goods and service tax is a value-added tax. In value-added tax, the tax compliance increases. And what we find is that most of the northeastern states have increased in tax compliance. This has led to higher tax collections. And this we can understand from looking at the data, the GST registrations, submissions of Form 3B and so on. We find that for every month, the number of registrations filing of these forms have increased. So GST has increased tax compliance very much in the northeastern states. And number two is a part of GST is integrated goods and service tax. Now, integrated goods and service tax has removed this central sales tax. Central sales tax was an origin-based tax. Normally, CST is levied when interstate sales of goods takes place. And this tax is levied by the central government from the state of destination, and they give it to the state of origin. So what is happening is that the rich states are getting this revenue at the cost of these poor states or the consuming states. Now, CST has been subsumed in GST. Therefore, what is happening is that those proceeds, those CST revenues that the rich states were getting now is being given to the states of consumption. Therefore, what is happening is that all the consuming states like UP, Bihar, West Bengal, northeastern states, their tax revenues have gone up a lot. And therefore, I want to say that the tax ratio of the northeastern states has improved many, many times. This is good news also. Therefore, I think this time this tax effort will be there also, I think, because it's a measure of performance. And this time, I think northeastern states will be doing very well. Now, when we come to the this grant portion, grants can be of many types. For the northeastern states, this gap filling grants is most important. And comes grants for development of panchayats, development of urban local bodies, specific problem grants, sector-specific problem grants. These are things. Now, what I want to say is that in the last Finance Commission, many states got these gap filling grants. What is gap filling grants? I want to just narrate. Normally, before a Finance Commission starts, say for example, let us say it starts from 2021 to 26. What does it that? It selects a base year. From this base year, it projects what are the expenditures that we are going to see and what are the revenues that we are going to get. Now, if there is going to be deficit, then this deficit is a gap and grants are given to fill this gap. Then that is called gap filling grants. Now, what is happening is that a normative approach is adopted. In normative approach, it is assumed that the states will exercise or give more tax effort in collecting taxes and exercise restraint in expenditures. Now, what I feel is that just in the case of, I was arguing for infrastructural development. Here also we should have two kinds of norms, one for others and for hilly states. The hilly states, what is happening is that they have a cost and disadvantage. You know, transportation cost is very high. And you know, a cement bag in Guwahati and cement bag in Manipur, there's a lot of difference because of the high transportation costs. Therefore, what I feel is that most of the northeastern states have cost disadvantage and these economies in scale of public administration. Therefore, what I feel is that this normative approach should be of two kinds, two things, one for other states and for hilly, another for hilly states. Okay. This is very important. And I come to this special problem grants. Sometimes a finance commission gives special problem grants. Sometimes it says that it is included in the gap filling grants also. What I feel is that, especially for Manipur, we have some specific problems like this current ethnic tensions, and government needs to spend lots of money in rehabilitation. So this special problem grants, I think, should be there this time also. And secondly, sector-specific grants should also be there. Now, the United Nations, the government of India has this sustainable development goals. All the states should try to achieve their sustainable development goals. Now, what is happening is that we should try to identify the areas where the northeastern states are lagging behind. This is very important. And the Finance Commission should give sector-specific grants to these northeastern states. And this is very important. So I will, for this round, I will close here.
Thank you, Professor Nepram. I will go to Professor Umdor. Professor Umdor, kindly make your present your views in this section.
Okay, thank you, Professor Bijoykumar. I hope I'm audible. And thank you, Professor Vikash Kumar, for your kind introduction. I am sorry I could not send my short biodata. I was traveling. So you must have got that one from the internet. Nevertheless, I'm happy to be part of this panel with very distinguished guests out here. I think during the 2014, when the special category status, for Northeastern state, when a planning commission was done away with, there was a lot of, apprehension among the Northeastern states that what will happen to the resources that we used to get from the planning commission, because till that time, if you look at the intergovernmental transfer in India, basically it was from the finance commission and the planning commission, and being a special category states, we had a lot of advantage, that we used to get a lot of fund from a planning commission besides the finance commission. But I think that fear is done away now, because if you look at right from the 13 finance commission to the 14 and 15 finance commission, we find that especially if you compare the 13th to the 14 and 15 finance commission, the devolution that has happened through the 14 and 15 finance commission, there has been a steady increase percentage wise. The northeastern states, I think other than Assam, that we have really gained during this process. For example, Meghalaya and the 13 finance commission, the formula-based devolution, which was 0.48%. In the 14 finance commission, it jumped to 0.64%, and in 15, it is further increased to 0.7%. Similarly, Manipur has also gained, Nagaland has gained, almost all the states in northeastern regions have gained, in the 14 and 15 finance commission in terms of the, devolution from the finance commission, the formula base. So in that sense that, we have also been receiving grants from the finance commission, and our finances in that way has not really been much affected by the doing away with the special category, it seems. So nowadays we don't find the states, clamoring for the special category states anymore. But then, coming to the today's discussion, I think I'll like to focus more on the 16th Finance Commission and what do we expect from it. Some of the points have already been covered by Professor Damodar, but nevertheless, I may also, stress on it again. I think if you look at the 16th Finance Commission, I see the similar happening in terms of formula-based devolution. I think northeastern states will gain, especially on account of our tax effort. When it comes to the GST revenue growth rate, the northeastern states have been, in the last 5 years, have done fairly well, 28% growth compared to the 15% all India average. So in that sense, I think, the formula-based devolution, we will be gaining, in that sense. And I see, the same trend happening, which was there in 14 and 15 Finance Commission. But I think I will not go into the, whether area be replaced by infrastructure, which will be argued by Professor Damodar, because it has its own significance. A larger state needs more resources. But in terms of the forest cover, in where the 14 Finance Commission was 7.5, 15 Finance Commission increase it to 10%. I think there the northeastern states should argue for a increase maybe in the percentage, in the weightage given to forest cover, because if you look at the northeastern states, our forest cover is around all the states except for Assam, it's around 75% and above compared to the all India average of 22%. So the northeastern region being the hotspot, this global environmental hotspot, and it is the forest cover, this large forest cover is it plays a very important role in as far as the sustainability, the environmental factors concerned. So I think the northeastern state needs to be compensated for that, and I think collectively, as the southern states are doing, I think the northeastern state needs to adopt needs to have a common platform where they should argue for a more increase in the weightage given to forest cover, because that will be to our advantage. As I said, most of the states have 75% plus of forest cover, so that will really augment the formula-based devolution that comes to the northeastern states. So that is something that we should argue for. When it comes to the grants, this is something that I think that Professor Damodar has also argued that when it comes to grants, I think because of the high cost of infrastructure, provisioning of infrastructure in northeastern states, we should be arguing for a special factor. In fact, I was part of the State Consultant 14 Finance Commission. This was discussed in the meeting that the Finance Commission called for in IIT in Guwahati, where the chairman and all the full 14 Finance Commission members were there, and there was a talk during that time, that this should be factored in the high cost of provisioning of infrastructure, especially in the northeastern upland state, not only northeastern state, all the upland states, including Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. So I think this is something that maybe in the 16th Finance Commission, the state government should have a collective stance as far as grants is concerned. I don't know whether in the formula base we can have infrastructure, as Professor Damodar has argued, but if not in the in the formula-based devolution, at least in the grants, when it comes to grants, there should be a special recognition of the high cost of provisioning of infrastructure in the upland states, and therefore that should be accounted by the 16th Finance Commission, so that the northeastern states can will be benefited from there. The other thing that I think we need to also take into account, going by the recent event, is the disaster grants. That the northeastern states and other upland states are very vulnerable to the climate change. We've seen example of Himachal Pradesh, and whenever there's a disaster, natural disaster related to climate change, the one that we have witnessed in Himachal Pradesh, we find that the cost of reconstruction and rehabilitation is very high for the upland states, and because most of the upland states are also revenue poor states, resource poor states, there's a higher burden on them when such disaster occurs. So I think when it comes to disaster grants, there must be a special recognition and allotment when it comes to the grants under this disaster grants. The other thing that I would like to also point out here that I think we should look at is when it comes to grants, especially the state-specific grants. I think in most of the northeastern states, especially if you look at Meghalaya and also other states, there's a lot of liability in the power sector, especially the debt that the state government has incurred, in the power sector. And therefore, when it comes to state-specific grants, I think this is something that the Finance Commission, that the state government should include in their memorandum, a special provisioning for these northeastern states to take care of the power sector debts, the huge power sector loans, debt that they have accumulated over the years, because in many states it's becoming very unsustainable. And therefore, this is something that should be argued for. And if the 16th Finance Commission take care of it, and some provisioning is there under the state-specific grants, especially for power sector, the liabilities in the power sector, that will really help the northeastern states. The other thing I think that we should also look at, especially, is when it comes to grants for the local bodies. if you look at the grants for the local bodies, in the 10th Finance Commission, the grants for the local bodies was just around 100 per capita per annum. In the 15th Finance Commission, that has increased to 650. So from 100 per capita per annum to 650 per capita per annum. That is the huge jump in the grants for the local bodies. But when it comes to northeastern states, you are aware that besides the panchayats, we also have the tribal district councils. The tribal district councils have not really been able to take advantage of these grants. I've been working with them, both the tight and the untight grants, because there's a lot of reforms that needs to be done, especially with the ADC finances. So again, here, I think what the Finance Commission, what the 10th and 11th Finance, 12th Finance Commission have been doing with the panchayats, incentivizing the panchayats to, adopt reforms in their finances, in exchange for the grants from the Finance Commission. I think that should be the same approach. You can't just give grants to the local bodies without insisting on reforming of their accounts and their finances. So I think this is an excellent opportunity, for initiating much needed reforms in the local bodies in the northeastern states in lieu of the grants that is coming from the Finance Commission. So I think these are some of the points that I think, that comes to my mind when it comes to the expectation that we have from the 16th Finance Commission. And for the moment, I think that those are the things that I'd like to, share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Umdor. Now, may I request Professor Mishra to give his considered opinion on these issues for the Northeastern. Professor Mishra, kindly unmute, because you are.
So thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So thank you, Professor Bijay, for inviting me to this today's webinar. And when it comes to the Northeast, I will say that the Northeastern states and the Himalayan states, whatever you call it, are fiscally unsustainable. And because these Northeastern states, they are sourced from structural weaknesses. And therefore, no factor, weightage, or any other device leads to horizontal distributions covering their fiscal gaps. I will talk about the criteria for devolutions. Income distance is all right. Area, to me, it is all right. So what bothers me is the demographic performances. Given the fact that the northeastern states, they are mostly, except Assam, they are dominated by Christianity. And when it talks about the demographic performance, the criteria, it says that one that is that we should reward the efforts made by the states in controlling their populations. That is, states with lower fertility ratio will be scored higher on this criteria. I think this is high time that they should reconsider, rethink, reformulate some of these criteria, like demographic performance. As my colleague Professor Umdor said, forest covers should be given due importance by the 16th Finance Commission. Then tax and fiscal efforts. The fact remains that the mobilizations of resources in the northeastern states, it remains at a lower end. Because the realizations of the tax revenue, it is always a function of the tax base, the economic base. The economic base in the northeastern states, as per my understanding goes, has remained more or less static over a period of time. Because basically it is a consumption-based states. Productions, except Assam, is almost nil in the other parts of the northeastern states. So as a result, the economic base, it has remained more or less static. So when you say tax and fiscal efforts, so what the criteria says that this criteria says that one should reward the states with highest tax collection efficiency. And it is measured at the ratio of the average per capita own tax revenue and the average per capita state GDP. So when the northeastern states taken together, their performance is so poor as regards to the mobilizations of own resources at its disposal. Then in that case, by keeping this criteria is introduced by the 15th Finance Commission, and 14th Finance Commission didn't have this particular criteria. They introduced and they put it at 2.5 and 2.5. And this also what you call reduces what you call the devolutions for these northeastern states as far as they are concerned. Then the second thing is that northeastern, in case of the northeastern states, it is, I would say, it is the poor quality of the government data that makes it extremely difficult for anyone to effectively analyze the potential gains and losses being made from the allocations, the allocated tax devolutions proceeds shared by the central government for the states over the last few years. So that is why the need of the hour is to have a comparability of data, not only for the northeastern states, but for all the states by the finance commissions. A comparable data set across the states, including the Northeast, over a period of time needs to be developed by the Finance Commission. As far I know, my knowledge goes that most of the financial data that the northeastern states they presented to the Finance Commission every 5 years, they are underestimated data or overestimated data. Because when I used to ask what criteria that you have used to do the tax forecasting in case of Meghalaya, where my own students they are being involved because I have been there for last 30 years, more than 33 years in Nehu. And most of my students, they're working there in the statistics and economics department. Then I used to ask them, how did you calculate the buoyancy and the elasticity of the various taxes? That I used to get a short smile. They say, we do not know, we just increase it by 0.2, 0.1, 0.3, or decrease it by 0.1, 0.2, 0.0, and 0.023. This is the state of affairs in the northeastern states. So that is why the emphasis should be given on the development of the comparability of the data by as far as the northeastern states they are concerned. So what worries in case of the northeastern states? So the fiscal positions and the debt landscape, that remains the most worrying factor as far as the center-state financial relations they are concerned. So I hope that the 16th Finance Commission will also provide a suitable fiscal consolidation strategy for high debt affected states to reduce their indebtedness while balancing their spending priorities and welfare needs. So I was looking at the data that was available as far as the debt to GDP ratio. And I was surprised to know that Mizoram, it heads the list. Mizoram tops the list. That is with 53%. That is the debt to GDP ratio among the northeastern states. Why northeastern? Among all the states in Indian unions. Then the second place is that of Nagaland, around 47%. Then comes Meghalaya, around 42%. Then Arunachal, it comes to 40%. And among the northeastern states, the Assam, it occupies the last positions, around 26 to 27%. So this is the state of affairs as far as the what you call the debt to GDP ratio they are concerned. So I think that it is high time that the northeastern states should take the matter up with the Finance Commission, how to reduce this particular debt to GDP ratio. Then the next thing is what you call the base year that I have some problem as regards to the base year that comes with the terms and conditions that is set by the government as far as 16th Finance Commission is when it was constituted. So the overall economy scenario and their impact on the fiscal balance of the states and the union territories should be, or if you will taken into considerations. So there is a need to have what you call to normalize the base year as far as the 16th Finance Commission is concerned. So these are the few things that I thought that I should share with you. Then in the process, if you get some question and answer, so we will discuss that. That's all for the timing from my end. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Before we go for the question and answer session, let me take this opportunity of requesting the all my speakers to kindly react to what each of you has said. If you have anything to add to those points, So I will start with Professor Nepram.
In the 12th Finance Commission, this FRBMA was introduced. And FRBMA main point is we should have reduced fiscal deficit to 3% of the GDP, GSTP, and we should have minimum zero revenue deficit, a fiscal deficit to 3% and a revenue deficit to zero. But what is happening is that most of the northeastern states, because they receive large central transfers, fulfills this criteria. Of course, when there is reduction in transfers, then because of their small GSTPs, the ratios can shoot up. As Professor has just mentioned, the GSTP of the northeastern states is comparatively small. The tax base is very small. So when something happens, the ratio changes a lot. What I want to add is that we should not simply focus on this 3% fiscal deficit and zero revenue deficit. For example, I will say, for example, Manipur's FRBMA says that we should reduce expenditure on salaries to 33% net of interest in this. For Nagaland, it is 61%. There are many things besides this 3%, and I think the Finance Commission should set up a monitoring team, instruct the government to monitor how the states are doing and penalize the states which are not adhering. India's FRBMA is actually doesn't have any penalty actually. So I think the Finance Commission should come out some kind of instructions so that the states adhere to the Fiscal Responsibility Act. I will give you one example. For example, in northeastern states, Tripura, Nagaland, they have very high public employment, maybe because of unemployment also, Manipur. But if you come down to Meghalaya, they have a very small public employment. So I think the Finance Commission also should give some suggestions that you should limit expenditure on salaries to this, on pension to this. I think this humble suggestion, I think, will improve the financial condition of the states to a lot. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Nepram. Now I go over to Professor Umdor.
I mean, it is very interesting that Professor has talked about the FRBM Act. I mean, I just want to narrate something, if you look at the FRBM Act of states, generally when it comes apart from the fiscal deficit, there's always a target to keep the public debt, the overall total debt within a certain percentage. Now, in Meghalaya, you'll find it very interesting. In all the states, the target is, whether it's 28% or 25% or 30%, 32% has always been with regard to total debt. In Meghalaya, in the FRBM Act, what they have done is that they have kept, upper limit of 28%, but only with regard to the consolidated fund, not taking into account the public accounts. So this is an anomaly that I've pointed out, and maybe the Finance Commission could also look into all this. But that apart, I think when it comes to northeastern states, whenever we talk about the budgetary management, we always focus on the resources. The other part to look at, maybe the Commission can also look into it, or should look into it, is the expenditure management. And there's a vision of how much resources that the northeastern state can generate, because of the low economic activity of the region. But when it comes to the expenditure management, this is something that has, that usually we don't talk about. I think, and I have seen other states like the government of Orissa has come up some years back with a policy paper on expenditure management. Now, because for our northeastern states, every penny saved is a penny earned. That really is very important, being states with very low revenue base. So I think this aspect of expenditure management is something that we need to look into, very seriously, and maybe as part of its recommendation, the Finance Commission should also, take care of, or maybe advise the state government in this aspect. So this is something that I think, I hope that will come up in the discussion when the Finance Commission and the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Umdor. Now may I request Professor Mishra again to add, if he has anything to add to these points so far. Hello, Professor Mishra, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now so since I just touched upon the debt to GDP ratio, and so that is how to reduce that. So I think there is an urgent need to merge what you call the budget and the off-budget borrowings without appropriate upward revisions of the deficit target. And I think this has the potential to reduce the fiscal space for the northeastern states. I think that much I can add to whatever I shared with you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now we have
Yes.
listened to the presentation from all the scholars. Now we will open this for discussion.
Yes.
If there are any questions, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Professor Bijoykumar. This was an excellent exposition by all the three speakers and your intervention, the chairman. I just have few comments and seek clarification. One is Professor Mishra said when the Finance Commission should normalize the base year. So what he would expect when he says the normalization of the base year. And second, more fundamental question. It has been a customary approach to put all northeastern states in one bucket. But I find from the distance sitting in Delhi, to me, each northeastern state is different in financial terms, whether you compare Sikkim or Manipur or Assam, Meghalaya. To me, because I have not stayed long enough, but I have visited all these states during my tenure when I was the chairman CACP. And then I find each state has its own strength and constraint. So dealing all northeastern state in the same brush and painting all in one group, to what extent that loses the requirement for separate treatment for each state depending upon the local condition. That is second. And my third observation is, when we moved from 13th Finance Commission to 14th Finance Commission, the total devolution of funds was increased substantially by 10 percentage point 13 Finance Commission, they devolved at All India level 32%, but 14 about 42%. So the reason behind it was because many of the centrally sponsored schemes were transferred to a state. So what is the experience of the northeastern region on this kind of arrangement? Over to you. So any of the panelists can reply.
I think
So,
I will respond to on the second question, sir.
Yes.
Please.
So there is a topic in the economic theory, whether should we give tight grant or untight grant. So it's a question of that. You know, when you give untight grants, then it is up to the state to prioritize their expenditure. But yeah, so I think most of the transfers now are untight grant. Even the tax here also, the states are free to use it according to their choice. And if they have revenue account deficit, it will be given gap filling grants. Untight grants is normally in areas like sector-specific grants, grant for local bodies, and grants for natural calamities. So I think it's a choice between should we give tight money or untight money. I think that's an area that we should explore, which is better, which is not. I think the welfare level will increase if we give more untight money, because local government knows the local conditions best. And if you give untight money, definitely the local government can give goods that increases the welfare of the local people. So we call for more decentralization likewise. So I think, yes, if you give more untight money, I think just like you mentioned, sir, the states can prioritize their expenditure and welfare will increase. That's my point.
So I will give the reply to the first part of the questions that was asked.
Oh, sure. Please do.
Okay. I'll go ahead. Shall I go ahead or I'll...
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Professor Mishra, yes, welcome. We are eager to listen to you.
No, so I said that the choice of the base year for the projections as well as the assessment of the revenue and expenditure, as I said, needs what you call and should be normalized. Why it should be normalized? To eliminate the shocks and fiscal responses. Because the estimate of the base year needs to factor in the global macroeconomic uncertainties, including fiscal shocks that most often we get it due to COVID, recently due to COVID, and the emerging global macroeconomic scenarios and their impact on the fiscal balance of the states and the union. So taking any base year that is given by the government and the terms and references. So I think that for a period of 5 years that we are talking about, or last 5 years, that is 23, 24 to 25, 26. So you take averaging of something, or you take something the best of that. So that is why if you want to take any base year, so that is why that it should be normalized as if possible, not much of the things. So thank you very much.
I also feel that way. It should be normalized. Because expenditure can fall down or increase suddenly,
If I come here,
Question
issue of expenditure management, again, I would like to stress here is that when it comes to northeastern states, of course, one can argue that this is also in other states, but especially in northeastern states, given the the economic backgroundness of the region, the infrastructural constraints that we have. It's very important not to only talk about the resources that we expect from the central government, but we also need to see how these resources are being used in a state. So there should be the Finance Commission should, future Finance Commission should stress on greater transparency, accountability of the funds that is coming from the center, because we know that 80% of the budget is actually from the from central resources, so of the state budget. So that is why the issue of expenditure management needs to be looked into, the efficiency, efficacy of the expenditure by the state government. Again, when it comes to the issue that Professor Damodar has raised about the local government, that they should get more untied funds. But the issue here is that when it comes to local government, again, the issue of transparency and accountability, especially with local government. In the state government, you do have, the mechanism that is there. You have the audit being done by the AG, and that process is there. At least it is there. When it comes to the local government, we have seen this happening. The first, I always like to narrate this as an example. The first case taken by NIA, the National Investigative Agency, was the 1,000 crore scam in one of the autonomous district council in Assam. Recently, 3-4 years back, 2016-17, Finance Commission had given 1,000 crore to the tribal ADCs. But that money that is coming, and again, now has been given to the local bodies in the northeastern region, especially tribal bodies, in terms of tight and untied grants. But that money is coming without the framework, the accountability and transparency, things that is there. Just on a bit on their accounts, if you just look at the accounts of these bodies, they are not actually there in place. When it comes to Panchayat, at least we have the, over the years, they have formalized their accounting system, because that's the base for when it talks about transparency and accountability, is the accounting system. The Panchayat system in India, we now have the online accounting system, so that is there. But when it comes to northeastern state, it's really wanting. And therefore, that is what I feel, is that while funds should be given to the local governments, it should come with a rider, and that rider should be necessary reforms. But that is the only way you can get these bodies to change the way they've been doing business. The other factor, I think, in the northeastern state, especially in case of Meghalaya, that we need to look into is the power sector. The issue of the high liability of the state government because of the power sector debt. I think this is something that, especially for a state like Meghalaya, which was just 15 years back a power surplus state. Now, we are no longer in that position. That is also to do with the public expenditure management. And therefore, all these factors, I think, needs to be looked into by the Finance Commission when it comes to the state and when they have the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Umdor. Is there any more questions from the participants in this webinar?
I can read one. There are few interesting questions, Mr. Chairman. One asks to kindly briefly explain MSME industry and their growth scope in future. So that is the question, whether anyone would like to throw some light on this? Any of the panelists?
I mean, I can just prepare to talk much on that. Obviously, there's a lot of scope of the MSME sectors in the northeastern. The data says, I think, more than 90 to 90 plus of the industries are MSMEs. Small industries are, big industries are not really there. The thing that that has happened in northeastern states is that right from 1997 we have had, as you all know, place-based policy, which is the Northeast Industrial Policy, that has been implemented by the central government to facilitate, to attract the industries in the region. Over the years, right from 1997, we have had changes in the policy in 1997, 10 years after that. And after recently, the state government the central government has again changed the policy, the Northeast Industrial Policy. The latest one is the 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But what has happened is that as there have been changes in these industrial policies, the amount of support that was there, if you compare the 1997 and the 2017, 1997 and 2007 policies, it has come down the support that is there in given to the industries. So that has had a dampening effect on the momentum, overall momentum, the attraction that was there to invest in the northeastern states, both for medium, large, and small industries. So I think there has been a demand from the industrial bodies in the northeastern states for the central government to have a relook at the industrial policy, and to provide the necessary support, because without these special policy, industrial policy, it is very difficult for the industries to compete with the other industries, especially to attract industries to come and invest in the region. So that is an ongoing process, and but for whatever reason, the central government has really brought down the type of support that is being provided to the industries if you compare with the earlier policy. So this has been a dampening effect on the industrial growth in the region, and this is something that is worrying for us here in the northeastern region.
So any more queries on other related issues? Because Dr. Biswambhara, you have to help me, because I cannot see from my machine now.
That was the question. And then Professor Bijoykumar ji, there is one suggestion that we should hold another webinar on reducing the power subsidy in the state, so that we can discuss separately. I have taken note of this. We'll discuss within our EGROW board. That is not for this panel, for there is a suggestion, and that definitely we look into this. And can we introduce small and turbines in 5 kilometer to 25 kilometer to generate wind energy? So those are the very specific issues which we can discuss. I feel those are the outside the scope of today's topic. Therefore, but at the same time, we have noted we will address these questions appropriately. So today, I think this is we will come to the end. I must take this opportunity to thank you, Professor Bijoykumar Singh ji. He has agreed to our request to chair the session, which he did wonderfully well. I'm also thankful to Professor Damodar Nepram, Professor Sumarbin Umdor, and Professor Mishra ji, and all the panelists, all these our audience who had been very active. And I have also a few announcements. On the next Friday, that means on 19th January, we are going to hold a webinar on union budget, forthcoming union budget. There will be 9 speakers of very, very high repute. A week thereafter, that means on 26th January, we are going to hold another webinar on Finance Commission. But today we have discussed Finance Commission with reference to northeastern state. On that day, that means 2 weeks down the road, on 26th January, we will discuss Finance Commission. But that scope will be all states other than northeastern, because northeastern we have covered today. So these are the 2 things. And third announcement is that we are in fact we find, based on our research and the feedback, there is a some sort of economic literacy level to be upgraded. So we hold 1 hour discussion on from Monday through Friday. That means 5 hours, 1 hour each, on macro, micro, and the economic issue for those people who want to join from 7:30 to 8:30 for 5 working days. For the people who are working, or they have some interest in economics, so it's open to non-economists, the person who has just finished nominal, and if waive off that fee. So my suggestion to all the audience and all the professor and distinguished panelists on this, please circulate this piece of information to all your students and anybody in your university who wants to join, please join. It's online. So with these few words, I thanks once again to all our panelists, the distinguished one, and I must tell you, our knowledge base, there was a quantum jump in when we listened to you. And I also extend my thanks from Professor Charan Singh, who had been pioneering, and he had been heading from the front, but today he tied up with some other meeting, therefore he could not be present. He was there for a short while, but then he has to go. So on his behalf also, I thank you very much. And it was a sheer delight, and it was a masterful exposition to have listened all such distinguished panelists. So with these few words, and if chairman has any final word to say, please, sir, enlighten us with your wisdom, words of wisdom.
Thank you. Another opportunity. Actually, as we see it, all our speakers, we have dwelt on,
Yes,
the various criteria of evolution. By just
right.
tinkering with the criteria, increase it here, decrease it there, somehow like that. But I was just wondering, because now we have the whole lot of data on sustainable development goals. We have lots of indicators. Then we have so many other like poverty, multidimensional poverty, and all that. Now, why don't we try to experiment with alternative indicators? Instead of looking only at income, per capita income, or looking at the area. Or, we actually can also take this opportunity of looking at alternative indicators. Now, as a matter of fact, basically, I personally feel that the Northeast is not going to make plea for more and more funds. But what the Northeast has every right to say is, now we have our requirements, so those requirements should be taken care of. Now, if we go for specific, a common formula for all the states, that is never going to happen, because almost all the states they have their unique characteristics, and so for some portion of the fund, this formula is okay, but appropriate provisions should be made for not only for Northeast, for all the states, so that we can come up with our objectives. And one thing that is very important is we have seen the injection of so much of funds in the Northeast, but the accountability of the funds actually has not been examined very rigorously. And yeah, in every finance commission, run up to the finance commission, in the last 2-3 finance commissions, we have been doing some work for, say, state analysis, state finance, and then the government of the state also does prepare the memorandum. But actually, there is basically no coordination. The government is doing its own, then we, the university people, they are working on their own. Now, so these things have to be coordinated. If we want to have real impact on the requirements of the region, not only for the region but for every state, those research works, those studies, they have to be coordinated, and we should actually what's happening is we send our state reports, state finance reports. Yeah, and I have been preparing I did the state finance report for the 14th Finance Commission. I did that for the 15th also. But after submission, there is practically no, no discussion. We just submit it, and we really don't know how far they have been used or not. So my suggestion is number one, we can try to have a look for alternative, criteria for devolution. New criteria there. There are many more indicators which can be better mapped into our welfare, better than income. So those have to be investigated, and when we raise the, there should be some rigorous examination of the efficiency of the funds also should be. So that is what I want to add, and of course I will be submitting the main points that our speakers. So I take the opportunity of thanking the panelists for their actually for agreeing to be part of this discussion and making their presentations a very, very in lucid manner. And I also would like to thank the EGROW Foundation for giving us the opportunity of highlighting or flagging our issues at on many forums. Thank you, Dr. Biswambhara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and have a great day, great weekend, and we really enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.